Welcome to Stitches TV. I'm Kim Carlson, and today we're going to be visiting the Rochester Public Library to see their new community quilt. And we'll be talking to some of the organizers and people behind the quilt. Welcome to Stitches TV. I'm Kim Carlson, and today we're out and about, and we're at the Rochester Public Library in the city of Rochester, Minnesota. Now, they have a lot of books here, but we came because there are also a lot of stitches, and a very special project that we have Gail Harris here. Welcome, Gail, to tell us about this quilt. Gail, you are the volunteer coordinator, is that correct?
Mm-hmm. I am.
And you are the one that came up with this idea, is that right? Or what was the genesis of this project?
It started when our library director and I were at a conference at the Minnesota Library Association conference. And it was my very first one that I'd gone to. It was 9 years ago. And it was lunchtime, and I was really excited because we were going off for lunch my first time with the Friends of the Library. They'd invited me to join them. And she said, come along and look at something I want to show you. And actually it was a quilt from Pelican Rapids Library. And so I nearly missed my lunch. I did manage to get there in the end, but I did see this quilt which they had done, which started us thinking we should have a piece of collaborative artwork in our library. And we had to find the right time to do it and the right people to help us do it. And hence we got the project going.
Evident you found both and all of those that you needed. So that was about 9 years ago. When did you actually get going with this project?
About a year ago, actually. It was a quick project. We knew the race exhibition was coming to the library, sponsored by Mayo Clinic, and we wanted to have a piece of artwork that really reflected the diversity of our community to go alongside the exhibition. And we had some volunteers who'd actually friends of the library who had made a quilt for an event that we'd had here, and it had been auctioned off. So I had a little word with them and saw if they would be interested in helping us, and luckily they said yes, and we went on from there.
So who made this quilt? When you're talking about the community, what is the background?
Well, what we did was we actually got the press on board, and we got the Quilters Society to help us. And we advertised for members of the community to submit a blog reflecting their culture and heritage and their style of needlecraft. And we were just amazed by the response. It was 55 blocks later, you can see the finished project.
Okay, so these are all donated by members of the Greater Rochester community, is that correct?
That's right.
Okay, and as part of the race exhibit, so it reflects that, or in conjunction with that?
Yes, in conjunction with the race exhibition.
Okay, so, and we will have a chance to talk with the volunteers who actually put this together. But Gail, can you tell us a bit about some of these pieces and the story behind them?
Well, we were really amazed because we had just such a diverse representation of our community that was submitted. Some of my favorites are, there's a beaded pair of shoes from a Native American member of our community, and she actually, when we did our quilt launch, came with her daughters and did a celebratory dance to celebrate our quilts coming to the library. And those are beaded slippers, and she actually beads clothing for outfits that she wears and her children wear for powwows, and her story is featured in the book as well, and I love that, and the beading is exquisite, absolutely exquisite. I also love the Dinka young lady as well, which is a piece of embroidery from Sudan, and that's a wonderful story. The stories of some of the artists are just heartbreaking because they have been through some incredibly difficult times. She had been a refugee and now has 7 children, has learnt to drive a minivan, and it's just a great story. She's learnt to speak Minnesotan English, and Minnesotan American, I should say, and it's just a wonderful story. And then she contributed to our quilt, so it's just wonderful. And then we have different blocks that have been submitted by people who were born and raised in Southeast Minnesota, reflecting their cultural heritage and how they've come here. And some of those are fascinating. In fact, I love seeing the blocks that both our two volunteers who helped design it made, because they're sisters, but they both reflected different parts of their heritage, which was really a very interesting thing as well.
We'll be talking to them. I wanted to bring up this book, which is goes along with the project, and you've got the stories and pictures, a page for every contributor, correct?
Yes, we have.
Yes, so this shows a variety of types of needlework that's done, as well as where it's from and the contributor and a picture. So this is beautiful to have. So
one of the sad things when we were talking about putting this together was we were talking with some colleagues, and they said that in their community young people don't continue the needlecraft traditions that their parents and even their grandparents had done. It's actually cheaper for them to just go up to the cities and buy the materials already embroidered. Okay. And so when we heard that, we felt that it was even more important to try and actually capture a picture of some of these crafts, because maybe in another generation or two there might be some that people don't carry on any longer. So that's another reason we decided to go ahead with it.
So now this is a permanent fixture in the library for the whole community to see, right?
Mm-hmm, it is.
And it was fun. I was talking to Gail earlier that when you first envisioned this project, you had a space on a different wall that was a lot smaller, right? And because you had so many donations that you ended up using this, pretty much the whole 2 stories of the wall. So, well, thank you so much for sharing this wonderful project, and we hope it'll give people an idea of what they might be able to do in their community.
Yeah, we love our quilt. We're so happy to share the idea with other communities too. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm here with Karen Keller, one of the volunteers who helped to put together this beautiful quilt. Hi.
Hi.
Karen.
Glad to be here.
Good. And now can you tell me a little about what the process was that you and your sister, who we'll talk to,
Yes.
did to assemble all of these 55 quilt pieces?
Right. What we did was we first of all made the whole quilt without the individual blocks. And we did that, put it all together and quilted it all as one quilt. And then after that, then we took the 55 blocks, arranged them in the order that we wanted them, and then sewed those on afterwards at the end.
Okay. And so now, so you did the, is it machine pieced or machine, I'm sorry, still stitched or hand quilted at the end before you put on the blocks? Is that right?
Well, what we did was we took each individual block and we actually made those as mini quilts. So we put a binding around each one of those, and then we did stitching by machine around each block onto the quilt.
Okay, so did you keep track of how long this took you? I understand it was supposed to be kind of a little project when you signed up, and it obviously became more.
No, we didn't keep track of it. We started the process in about October, collecting blocks. All of the blocks didn't come in until February, and we needed the quilt done by the 1st of May. So it was a quick process to kind of put it all together and finish it up.
You did a beautiful job. Now you also contributed a square, correct?
I did, yes I did.
Okay, and we've got it in the book here. Can you tell us a little about your square?
I picked a block on Polish paper cutting was the technique that I used. And I picked this because my father's parents are from Poland. And I wanted to represent their heritage because my maiden name is Runnerson, which certainly is not a Polish name at all. My father's original name was Pobiedzinski. At that time, Polish people were discriminated against, and so he was moving into a Norwegian community, so he translated his name to a more Norwegian-sounding name, which became Runnerson. And this was very common to do back in the 50s.
Okay, I didn't know that. So had you done this type of work before, piecework? Or?
No, I had not done this before, but I just loved the bright, vibrant colors, and I just thought it would be a perfect addition to this quilt.
Well, I think it is, and thanks so much for talking to us about your piece and the whole quilt. And I guess, are you ready to volunteer for another community? Should they want to have you?
We're pretty busy here in our local community.
Okay. Well, thanks so much, Karen.
Sure.
Now we're here with Annette Scholand. Welcome.
Thank you.
You're Karen's sister, correct?
I am Karen's sister.
Okay, and you also, then the two of you work together putting this whole quilt together, designing it and compiling it.
Gail came up to me and asked if I would make a little quilt for the library, and I asked my sister if she could help, and she designed the quilt, and we put it together.
Okay, well, again, you've done a beautiful job with it. So that's interesting, did you take different roles then, or did you work together? Do you each have a...
We worked together, but she was the one who designed it and had the vision, and then we had a friend who's an engineer, and she came in and made sure everything was a little more perfect than we would do. Okay. So,
well, it was a collaborative effort for sure, and it really worked out. And you have a piece that you contributed, correct?
I did. Yes, mine is a log cabin or a sod house quilt dedicated to my grandparents, who were Norwegian and lived in the plains in North Dakota, and lived in a sod house like many of the immigrants did at that time.
Okay, and you did this with
A paper piecing technique.
I meant to ask if you have any other favorites up there.
I really like the beaded moccasins that Gail mentioned before, and I like the brain. Everyone took a different direction on what they thought were their cultural diversity, and that's what makes a quilt special.
It is very special. Well, thank you. We thank you for talking to us today, Annette.
Thank you.
And for sharing your quilt with us.
All right, thank you.